Hello, I am Cindy Ola. Welcome back to the Sacred Garden Yoga channel. And I have the beautiful Jim Pisano here with us once again. So, how was the solar eclipse and all those lovely energies for you these past couple
It
of
kicked my
weeks?
butt. This one kicked my butt. Normally it doesn't affect me like this, but this one was intense for me. How about
Mhm.
you?
It wasn't too terribly bad, but I think I got an ass whipping a couple of months ago.
You already had your own eclipse.
Yeah.
No, for me it was more symptoms, and I don't know if it was the eclipse or what's happening in the area or whatever, but I had a real intense headache and just down. My body needed to rest, two,
Mhm.
3 days straight. And I've talked to other friends, same thing, during that time it just hit them where it was like, leave me alone, let me rest. But soon as I got that rest and listened to my body, now things are just downloading through, which I love, of course. That's the delicious part. And
Yes, I did feel that, like I
Mhm.
need to slow down. And I
Yeah.
even talked about that in another video, but yes, a desire to not be as busy, to slow down, to take it easy, to nourish, to rest. And I
Hmm.
think, yeah, a lot of people were feeling that.
And that's what winter's for
And
anyways, eclipse or not. Like that is our time of solitude and hibernation. And I think so
yes,
often we try to do the hustle and the grind and push, go, 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 do, do, do. But our bodies need that. The seasons of change have an effect on our human self. And I think we
especially
need to
for
pay more attention.
all the new
Yeah.
growth that's coming in with the shifting and the changing of the timeline and needing to pause to reflect
Hmm.
upon how we're going to show up next, like
Yeah.
what version of ourselves is ready to express, to move things, to prepare for what's coming, like,
Hmm.
the new growth, the rebirth.
Yeah. Unlodge, reveal, release, surrender. For
Mm-hmm.
me, it's a time of slow down so you can speed up. And I don't
Right.
slow down often, but I do listen when it's those times where my body is asking for it and needing it, and it does go with the wheel of the year and the seasons of change and things of that nature and the cosmos, right? And just
Mm-hmm.
taking that time for ourselves and taking that time without being guilty has been such a huge life path for me, is just knowing that you deserve that and that you need that, and
Mm-hmm.
everything will get done when it gets done. It's no big deal. 2 or 3 days of rest is not going to kill anything.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of cosmic forces and moving into more expansion, the actual reason we got on today, Jen and I, is to also speak upon Jupiter, the planetary influence of Jupiter. The last time we spoke, we talked about Venus and pleasure and how pleasure opens us up to abundance. And with Jupiter, he is also the planetary influence that has so much to do with expansion and abundance as well, wealth and generosity. And I know whenever I've worked with Jupiter, it's always what do you call it? Well, like, again, whether you like it or not, if you're asking for your next level of expansion, then when you work with these forces, they're also going to say, well, what do you need to let go of? Like, what attachments do you need to let
Yes.
go of it
You got to let
for
go of the
you to
old life to
step
get the new
into
life.
that expansion? And that can be a shock to the system as well, to realize how attached we are to our smallness or
Hmm.
to our comfort zone. And if you're asking for expansion, I mean, you've really got to take on that role, that frequency of expansion, which will and you might think that you're like, all aligned, but then suddenly you're called to do the work and you realize, oh well, wait a
But
minute.
that's the thing, though. The work never ends because with
Mhm.
each expansion, you energetically have to be able to prepare your physical body to hold that new energy. And with each growth phase, you have to go back through your mindset. You have to go back through your belief system, and all of those things have to get upgraded as well. Like, just because you're ready to take on more abundance, you might be perfectly comfortable and excited about bringing in $6,000 a month, but then you jump that up to 20,000. That's a whole lot of work that you've got to do to be able to hold the energy of claiming that level of abundance. And then from that jump to the next one, to 50,000 a month, to 60, whatever it may be, even if it's from 500 to 1,000, people have to be able to hold that energy and align with, I am worthy of having that. I am worthy of having it. I am deserving of it. I can hold that energy. I can hold that frequency. But if you can't hold the frequency, the manifestation may come and go. And I think that's the part that a lot of people don't. They might be good at manifesting, but not so much of keeping. And that's because we're not holding the energy and frequency.
You know, one thing that's interesting that I think is Jupiter that taught me here recently about just the being a bigger container is this belief system that I personally had. And I didn't even realize I had it until you realize you have it, you know?
It always works.
Is this idea of moderation. You know how we're always taught moderation. And in some things, you know, you need moderation. It's good. Like if you have a dozen donuts sitting on your shelf, you're not going to eat a dozen donuts unless you want to pay the price for that. But, you know, moderation, you eat one donut and you'll probably be all right. You'll recover. That the teachings about moderation, where, you know, as I said, it does come in handy with certain things in life. But are you applying it to things where, okay, you're expanding, and you stop your growth and you say, oh, well, wait a minute, that's just too much, too much coming in right now.
I think it is
I need to moderate this. I need to slow it down.
But is it moderating, or is it rejecting the abundance that is coming to you with ease and flow? Because people do that so much. They say they want it and then they push it away.
But I think that's an idea, though. I think that's a belief system. It's a belief system.
Oh, it is a belief system.
We're taught moderation is better. That you don't need.
Or you don't need that.
You don't need all this stuff. So we just need to moderate. It's a general belief system that we're taught.
It does. It comes from childhood at home and then in school as well. You know, only take your fair share. It's not okay to want more. This is what you get. And I think a lot of that is, you know, things are rationed and it's ingrained in us at a very early years. And then we have it generationally, ancestrally. Like all of us have had, you know, ancestors that have lived through the Depression and all of these things where they had to go through, you only need this much, you can only have this much, you only get this much. It doesn't matter how much you say you want, right? So that's also cleanup work to do as well.
And these are also taught, though, in spiritual belief systems, which is one of the reasons that I'm bringing it up as well. It's like, you know,
well, and then you get into the martyr syndrome.
Life, you shouldn't really need or want all that much, which, you know, leads to this whole idea of moderation. But I think that will also, with good intentions. So in other words, you're having these good intentions of you know, serving humanity, but we don't realize how these good intentions, they're really not aligning to our deserving for something more, and that it's okay to want more, instead of thinking, oh no, well, I'm being greedy, or I need to moderate, I need to stop that because I shouldn't even be asking for this, I shouldn't be wanting this much anyways, and I should be happy with what I have. Like
that
those
is definitely
ideas.
Childhood. Be happy with what you've got. The martyr goes into that too, because a lot of people play that card as well, which is also passed down often through the female line. I see it more in the female line. But being a martyr, like, oh, look at me, I will give up everything for everybody else, and woe is me, you know, that comes through so strong in so many people, and that none of it's healthy. We are the only ones that can hold that energy and choose how big we want to blow that out and receive without the pushback. Because that's so much of it, is I see women saying, yes, I want this, I want that, and then they push it right away as soon as it comes and shows up to them.
Well, Jupiter, just like Venus, Venus teaches us how to receive. We talked about her, and how she teaches us how to receive, especially pleasure. The energy of Jupiter also teaches us that. Like, are we okay with truly receiving, or do we feel like receiving is on some level not a good thing? That I shouldn't be receiving because there are so many other people that are lacking in the world. And if there are other people that are lacking in the world, then I need to hold back on my own receiving because it's unfair, or it's not, it's not
Which is an
morally
outdated belief
correct.
system,
These
though.
kind of
Right.
ideas.
I mean, it's outdated. And of course, it depends what we're talking about, too, right?
Mhm.
There's subject matters that mean more than others, but me having more doesn't take anything away from you unless it's a piece of pie.
Mhm.
Right? So, but with us trying to create our own wealth and create our own abundance and all those things, that's limitless.
Mhm.
It's limitless. Me earning more doesn't take any more out of your pocket, right? As long as you're doing business with integrity and it's soul aligned and you're doing things and listening to your spirit guide, your team, whatever that is for you, that highest creation of light, bringing that into that way where you are actually being led. You're being led to do the great work, and you're open to listening. Even listening is a way of receiving, listening to that information that comes through. That is expansive in itself. So I love that Jupiter, right? I like to use Zeus instead of Jupiter, the archetype name. So Zeus, him bringing in abundance and expansion, it is expansion of luxury and abundance of wealth and everything, but it is spiritual expansion. It's expansion within our marriage, within all life, within all areas of life. It's multifaceted. And all of those things can be separate, but they need to be integrated to have true wealth, abundance, and that feeling that we all want, which is the true feeling of an expanded self.
Mhm. And just to go back a little bit, for those who don't know exactly how these planetary influences work, um, like I said, Jen and I, we talked about Venus before, and I think we explained it a little bit on that video as well. But why do the work with the cosmic forces? How does it help us? Well, there's the axiom. It's like the mystics axiom, I guess you can say, that says as above, so below. And when you're working with these planetary influences, kind of like that. So these planets, to me, they're like living and breathing entities that hold very specific frequencies and energies, but they're also simply a reflection, a mirror of what we're capable of as well. And Jupiter, or Zeus, because they have archetypal names as well. Jupiter is the planet, and the Romans called Jupiter, and then you go to the Greeks, and the Greeks called that same kind of influence or energy, they call it Zeus. And I think in the Norse tradition, it's Thor probably aligns more up with this particular archetype, or this force of nature, this force of energy. But they are reflections, and they're mirrors of us, and they help to remind us of things that maybe we've forgotten about ourselves. And if you're wanting more, in this case, where we're talking about Jupiter or Zeus, if you're wanting more expansion or wealth, or you're wanting to tap into the part of you that wants to give back, but giving back from a place of feeling full, which generosity is a big influence. That's a big aspect of Jupiter as well. That if you're feeling, for some of you, like you forgot that about yourself, that you're not particularly aligned with your own wealth or your own abundance at this moment, you can decide to work with one of these planetary influences, in this case Jupiter, and say, hey, I need your help to remind me of what I am capable of, because right now, for some reason, I've decided to play the role of being small or to not be as expanded as I can be. So please, please show me and guide me the way back to to my fullness and into my ability to expand in all directions. And then when you call on these forces to help you, they don't come in like Santa Claus, for instance, and then suddenly say, okay, well, here you go. I'm going to solve all your relationship problems. I'm going to give you all of this money. That's not the way they work. They come to you and say, well, here, look at yourself. This is where you're holding yourself small. This is why you're not creating wealth in your life. It's because you're not allowing it in. And they come in and help you in that kind of way to show you where you're in your own way, how you've been veiled. But you still have to do the work individually. We still have to do our work to break free from those disillusions that we've been believing in all this time. So anyways, that's just I wanted to come back and reiterate some of that as to like why are we talking about Jupiter, or why do we talk about Venus, or why do we talk about these planets and these archetypes? Like, why do I need them? And I mean, you don't necessarily need them, but they sure as heck can help you when you're feeling blocked, or like you need some extra guidance and some extra help. So there we go. now that I've said that, back to what were we talking about? You know, specifically with Jupiter, we were talking about how, you know, we do get in our own way, these belief systems that we tend to have that hold us contracted and small, especially as women. But it's not just women, but, you know, anybody, how it's ancestral, or how they're just coded belief systems that we think are right because we were taught to this and we just simply don't know any better. But
Well, it gets ingrained very early on, and it's not choosing of the sexes. Everybody's got blocks.
exactly.
And everybody's got triggers, and everybody plays small in their own way in one area of life or another. They may be very open and expansive in one area and completely shut down in another. And that could be a coping mechanism, you know, and it's not right or wrong. It's just to bring in awareness. And that's personally why I love working with the archetypes and doing this type of work that I do, that you do, is that it is a constant evolution of self, stepping into self-mastery through awareness. And the more that we go inward, coming back home to self, that is, to me, that's the true spiritual work. It's coming back home to self. And your true self, your divine self, is limitless. Your divine self is ever expansive. Our humanness and our life experiences is what gets us in the way. That's what stops us in our tracks. That's where we start self-doubting. We go up into that mental realm, and the mental realm argues with the soul. Mm-hmm. And it leads us off track. It makes us feel like we're not good enough, or we're not ready, or a big thing I see in so many people is, well, I'll be happy when. I'll do it when. There's all these conditions. But if you're truly back home, you're coming back home to self, into that divine essence of who you truly are, then you don't question it. That's your internal GPS. And that's where action happens. And you start doing it without questioning it, because you know, your soul knows what your soul knows. And it's the best thing ever. It's like the Cliff Note version of our life experience. If we would just listen to that voice, to our team, to our archetypes that already are within us, a piece of us, then life becomes so much easier. Mm-hmm. It's when we go up here all the time, all that thinking, that will go back to, how do I survive? It goes into that ego mind. I must survive. And it's going to keep playing the same pattern over and over that's been working since you were a toddler. Mm-hmm. We learn and pick up these things. I throw a tantrum, I get what I want. Some adults in their 40s and 50s are still damn throwing tantrums to try to get what they want. right? We
Instead of
have to,
aligning.
instead of aligning with why am I trying to go outside of my body, right? Or blaming everything that happened wrong on everybody else or whatever it may be. But if we come back in, down and in, it's an inside job, and really listen to that voice, those feelings, those sensations, life flows. It does not have to be hard. It gets to be easy. And it really is easy if we would just listen. The
Mhm.
problem is, most of us are too damn stubborn to actually listen.
I know. And these feelings of expansion, so in other words, if you're when you're wanting more expansion, more wealth, more sovereignty, more sorry, my phone is ringing. If you're wanting to experience more generosity in life and then also be more generous yourself, it starts with little steps too. It doesn't always have to be like one big, huge thing that you do. For instance, it can be as simple as just really celebrating yourself and the fact that you did something. And especially here in this day and age of social media, where we create content. Like here, you and I were creating content for a video for YouTube. We create content for Facebook or Instagram, and we put the content out there. And here, this is just an example of how we put the power outside of ourselves. So we put that content, this beautiful content out there, and then maybe we don't get as many likes as we want to get, or whatever, like that whole little game. And then we start to feel deflated, like, well, what was the purpose of that whole thing, and why did I do that? And I just spent all that time doing that, and nobody's even watching it. This is just like the general self-talk that I think a lot of us have. But then it's looking at it, though, from a different point of view and saying, hey, you know what? We just created some badass content and we just had a great time doing that. And I am so glad that I did. I'm going to celebrate myself just for creating that video, or for putting that awesome post, or creating that beautiful blog, and celebrating the process of creation itself, and letting that energy come in and expand you, and not letting it be deflated by, well, nobody watched it, nobody liked it, because then that's putting the power outside of yourself.
Right. You're
That,
seeking for self approval, is really
mm-hmm,
what that comes to. And you see people checking all the time, like how many people
mm-hmm,
liked it. They're going back and forth to their screen. And if we do it for the right reasons,
mm-hmm,
then the like button has no control over us, anyways. And if we're doing it for the right reason, like part of this, what I'm doing with you, I'm investing my time. Time to me is currency. I'm
mm-hmm,
tithing. Right now, I'm tithing.
mm-hmm.
Whoever is going to receive this message, know that it's coming from my heart. It really is. And
Yes,
we need to do things for the right reasons. I'm not here with you today because I'm looking for a like or a heart or whatever it may be. If
right,
you do, thank you, thank you, thank you. I love it and it fills me up. But that's not the purpose of the video. The
right.
purpose is to get information to the people that need it the most and speak to people's hearts and souls. And for me, that is a way, it's a part of my gratitude practice.
Mm-hmm.
To my teachers, the people that came before me, that have given me this training, this wisdom, the hard knocks of life, like this is a way of me celebrating that. Like I'm on the other side of it now. And if
Mm-hmm.
I can help somebody else get through it a little easier, a little faster, with a little more awareness and understanding, that's a beautiful gift to put out into the world.
Yes,
That to me is expansive.
and that is Jupiter.
That is
This is
Jupiter.
what
It's
this is what I'm talking about.
expansive.
These are the little things, these attitudes. And this is the way these frequencies, these energies come in when you begin to work with them. Is they start to show you a different perspective, a different way of looking at things. They start to show you ways of how you can be generous, of how you can experience gratitude. You can fill your own cup, not put all that outside of you. This is Jupiter. This is one
It's
of the
Jupiter.
way that Jupiter works. but it
And
works
it's
in like
using
these
our
small.
energy. It's
But
using
it,
our energy in an expansive way when we approach it like that, right? We're approaching it like
mm-hmm,
that. And for you and me, we chat all the time, and I love that. That in itself is expansive for me because
mm-hmm.
you and I have sisterhood. We're sharing our great work and our teachings and our wisdom when we gather in circles and we teach courses and we do, jump on these videos and so forth. But if nobody watches this video, I got to hang out with you and I love you. And that is fantastic and that feels good. But it's like you said, it's the different perspective. What are we doing things for? And what is our motive? And what is our intention? And that makes all the difference.
It really does make all the difference. And again, that's how these energies work. So yeah, you might ask for more wealth and expansion. Jupiter might not drop. I mean, he may. Maybe he'll drop $20,000 on your lap. Heck, maybe you're ready for that. But it might be instead, hey, and no, I'm not going to drop $20,000, $30,000 in your lap right now. But these are the things that you can do. Like if you really want to align up with my energy, then these are the ways that you can begin to show up and feel that fullness from within that is going to cause that alignment into expansion, which is then going to attract the things that you want. We talked last time about magnetism and attracting things, but that's how it's done. It's done from perspective. It's done from attitude, like where your actions truly coming from. And
And you can't attract, in my opinion, you cannot attract until you are right with yourself
right.
because it is a vibration, it's a frequency, and like attracts like.
Mhm. Yeah. And if you want to work with Jupiter, Jen and I are doing a course. The course that we have coming up January 22nd is called Ignite. And we'll be working with the forces of Venus and Jupiter and the sun is very yummy. I mean, all three of those planetary influences, they're all about just radiance and abundance and growth. And it's just a very, very yummy feeling. But if you do want to do a little bit of work with Jupiter at your home, you can create sacred space, which is one thing that Jen and I teach how to do in the courses. But you can create sacred space, create an altar, and you can start by setting up some things that are aligned particularly with Jupiter. This work, it's been done. People have been doing this. Our ancestors have been doing this for thousands and thousands of
Yeah,
years.
science is just now catching up with mystics. It's such a beautiful
Exactly.
thing. Yes.
And there are certain things that you can set up on your altar, certain offerings that you can make. Jupiter always likes a nice little glass of whiskey. Like
It does.
if you
Well,
want to
and
plant like
also,
on your altar a little bit of whiskey.
and if this sounds strange to people, and I know like giving food and drink to a planet could sound strange, right? It is the energy, the frequency, and the vibration of the archetype. And it can be, an altar can be it's a very personal thing. It's your expression of self and sacredness, and it's going to come through you. So it's really important just to listen to what feels right to you. For some people, their altar can be as simple as a tea light. And to others, like me, I kind of go for the top. I've got a little bit of everything there, and then food and scent and all of the things. And there's no right or wrong way to set up your altar space. It should be an extension of you and your spiritual growth. And
Mhm.
then as you connect and build relationship, to me, that is one of the things that is the most important about this journey, is learning how to build a relationship with our spirit helpers. And for this instance, for using Zeus. And when you're doing that, then you start listening, and Zeus may say, hey, I'd like a cup of whiskey this Thursday,
Yeah.
or what have you. And you listen and you learn.
Yeah. And Thursday is Jupiter's day, by the way. Thursday, right? Jueves, which is lined up with Jove. Jove is another name for Jupiter, Jove's day. So if you want to work with the energy of Jupiter, Thursday is a great day to do that. I mean, you can do it anytime, but
Any
that is
day. So it's just more in favor of the energy and the alignment. but you go through the planetary hours every single day, and there's wonderful apps for that if you guys want to geek out on it. I like geeking out on it, but
Do you have
every
the name
single
of one
day.
of those apps? I have one, but do you have one?
Yeah, hang on, I've got a couple.
We can
And
probably share one of the
it's
links
different for
too.
iPhone versus Android. So I'm on an Android, but I'll see what I have on this guy. I may have taken it off. I think Time Tracker, I believe, is one.
I have one on here too, I think. Um, Hold
Oh, I've got it on
on.
my other phone. I carry two phones. I think I had to delete some apps because I had too many videos on here, but I can give it to you, the ones I have. I have two that I use consistently, and I like them for different reasons. One's real simple, and it
Uh,
just tells you the planetary hours.
I have
And it
one
also,
that's called Time Nomad.
yeah, Time Nomad is the other one. That's it.
And as a matter of fact, right now, hey, we're in the hour of Mercury.
There you go. Communication.
Exactly. So it's a perfect time to be doing this video. But
There we go.
yeah, Time Nomad. I'll put that in the comments as well if you want to keep track of the planetary hours. It is kind of fascinating to take a look of what energy you're aligned with what
Yes.
time of the
And
day
it
it's
can be a
in.
lot to digest in the beginning, and people are like, well, why would I want that? And I can tell you it's pretty awesome the way that it works. So, for example, Mars is that warrior energy. You might not want to have a real intense conversation with your boss during the hour of Mars, if possible, because you might be a little more feisty, unless you tend to be more passive. And then it would be the perfect time. So, it helps teach you divine timing that
Mhm.
is in alignment with cosmic influences. And that is something that really can empower you in a very beautiful, mystical, magical way. And I know I used planetary hours even with figuring things out with my son. We went through some tough times with him in fighting over handwriting. It was just such a fight. He hated it. So I would make sure that I did that in the time of Mercury or in the time of Venus, right? And try to make it an easier thing. I didn't do it in the hour
Mars.
of Mars.
Right.
Instead, we would go out and ride bikes in the hour of Mars. So you can use it in your parenting if you're a mystical mama like I am, or just play with it a little bit. I wouldn't, in the beginning, it's easier just to learn the days of the week, and then you can get down into the hours and go from there, and it goes deeper and deeper and deeper however you guys want to learn, but it is incredible how it has an impact on our lives.
And I think I can say this for you as well as me saying for myself. The reason that we are so passionate about this kind of stuff is because of just how beautiful and fulfilling it is to reconnect with the forces of nature. I mean, this is why we teach these courses. This is why
Yes.
we teach the courses about connecting with the elements, why we teach these courses on connecting with the cosmic forces like the planets and such.
And it
Because it,
reminds you that you're a force of nature. I mean,
yeah.
we are a force of nature, and we are the elements, and we are stardust.
Hmm.
And it's a beautiful process.
I think so. And for us to reestablish those relationships again, especially if we've been pulled away from it. So, there is I think, something that happened too, where for a little while, even nature was demonized. If you would watch it in movies and things, all the bad things always happen when you're in the woods. Like
Always.
usually it's like you go in the woods is when the worst things in
And
the
why do
world
the women always fall down when they're running?
like
I don't understand.
like the wilderness is this terrible place to be. Don't go into the wilderness because if you go there, then something terrible is going to happen to you. But the wilderness is where you go back to find yourself. You find your own internal, even your own internal wild, but in a way that just truly serves you and reconnects you with your instincts and your
With
intuition.
everything.
And
Well, and not only the spiritual journey of it, but what it has as an impact on our health. Like, I just had some weird heart palpitation stuff going on that gave me quite a scare. And as soon as I walk into the woods, it stops. No
yes.
medication, no medication, no special formulas or potions. It's just get out in the woods. Every single time I step onto a path, I'm like, whew, good.
Yeah, and it's such a beautiful feeling to feel connected again too. to feel
Mm-hmm.
connected with the all of the forces of nature that are out there.
And I think it's more important now more than ever because we're all on screens so much. I mean, my entire business is here in front of the screen, during the week, except when we're teaching live together and so forth. But it's a lot of screen time. And if nothing else, just get away from your desk, off your phone, and just be present. Go for a walk, hear the birds, feel the wind, listen to the water as it passes through the stream. Those things are a gift. It's such a gift. And it helps us sleep better. It helps us feel better. It releases anxiety. I mean, it really truly is a gift. To me, nature is my medicine. It's my church. It's my medicine. It's my sacred space.
Mine too. And the more that we can recreate and connect with that, the more we feel empowered within ourselves. Because, as I said, everything out in nature is but a reflection or a mirror of showing you how, yes, how we are forces of nature, and how power. Like for instance, if you're walking out and you see this beautiful mountain, and the first thing you think about when you see that mountain is, wow, it is so grand and so expansive and so big and so beautiful. That mountain is telling you, hey, my friend, guess
You're so
what?
big and you're so expansive and damn, you look good. It's true.
Exactly.
It's
We
true. And
need
I
that,
think the other thing on that too, or at least for me, when I'm out there, it makes you realize how connected you actually are.
Mhm.
And the other way that we do things, and even how we may have been trained as how we've grown up, is that we are separate from. We are separate from other people. It's all about being completely individual. But the more we come back to everything is interconnected, the more things flow for me. And again, it's that awareness that makes life ecstatic. It helps me make the best right decisions, the best next step forward, all the things when you realize it's not just about me, me, me. It's about how everything connects and how one thing affects the other. But without going here,
Mhm.
it's just feeling into it in this beautiful, organic way, this holistic way, where things just start to click and make sense.
And these sacred relationships that we begin to create with nature, it's also what's going to help. I think it just really not just help us in our help, each one of us individually in our own evolution and growth, but it will help us each collectively because we're changing the relationship that we have with this planet. And I think that, the relationship that we've had with this planet in the past has just been so disconnected. And it's
Well, it is.
why
I mean,
it's
most people
so,
don't care about this stuff. They learn about it in seventh grade or whenever, and then they're done with it.
yeah. And it's when we have these relationships, we establish these sacred relationships, whether it's with the elements or whether it's, with these cosmic forces, that we want to take care of it. It's like with any relationship. If you have a relationship with another person and you feel really close with that person, you're going to want to nurture that person. You care about that person. You're going to want to take care of it. Same thing with nature. Once you begin to establish a relationship with her and with the planet, you want to take care of her. You want to nurture her. And this is part of going into this, this new earth, is changing or shifting the relationship that we have with nature, and shifting the relationship that when we see nature, we don't just, we see a living, breathing entity instead of, oh, well, that's just firewood, or that
Right.
is like, something for me to make a house with. You know what I mean? It's like you see it for something much more magical and enchanting than just a piece of wood, or a piece of food. Sure, nature feeds us, but when you see it as a living, breathing thing that's going into your body, it even changes your relationship with food and how you eat. In other words, it goes into so many different levels. But
Right.
this kind of connection that we begin to establish with everything. My kitty was acting psycho just a second
If you
ago
hear
too.
that
That's
noise,
why
it's her.
I was distracted like this because he was like,
She's
he's
making
running
biscuits
around.
behind me, and I'm like, can you guys hear that? It's a lot of noise over here.
He's running around all over the place. So I think he finally calmed down. But anyways, these relationships, these sacred relationships are making these relationships more sacred. It really does make a difference in how we experience the beauty that's all around us, instead of only seeing like mundane things, instead of only seeing little bleeps in the sky of blinking lights. You can, begin to look up at the skies and stars of the planets, and to see them as an influence for you to help you on your own, on your own journey. And it's also beautifully connected that way,
Everything's
from
connected.
the ground to way up in the sky.
And that's why they say, as above, as below, as within. And the
Mhm.
more we connect with the other, the more this becomes more whole, more complete, more at peace. And who doesn't want that?
I know I do. All right. Well, is there anything else that's coming to mind that you want to share, Jen?
Oh, there's so much we can share, but I like keeping these on the shorter so that people can take it all in because it's so much information.
Okay. All right. Well, I think that's a good place to leave it with just what we were talking about, just keep doing the work, keep creating these beautiful relationships, and know that you're never alone. I don't know how many times I say that, but I just feel like that's such an important piece. If you're feeling like you're all alone in this work that you're doing, you're not alone. I mean, there's people, but there's so much out there that's waiting for you to connect and to help you along your path. And we're just giving you a little piece of it.
Snippets, yeah. And if you move through the places that feel hard,
Hmm.
what's on the other side is so worth it.
Yeah.
It's so worth it. And you're not alone. And it's hard to believe that sometimes because we've all been there, right? But if you move through that place, which doesn't feel good, if you're brave enough and courageous enough to move through it and trust the journey, what you find on the other side is that everything you have is within you and you'll
Yeah.
never feel alone again. And that is worth its weight in gold.
Hmm. Yes, and if you want to learn more, connecting with Jupiter, learn more about that, or connecting with Venus or the Sun. These are the particular ones that will be starting in January. Then feel free to join us or ask any questions about the upcoming course we have going on. We're doing it in person, but we're also offering a virtual option as well.
Yes. And
That's separate than the in-person one.
thank you for mentioning that. It's not a hybrid. You actually get your own time and 100% of our attention when you go through that. And that's important to us as facilitators. So
And
we would love to have you.
the stuff really does work. I mean, I've been living my life by it for a while now, and I know you have too. And it really does begin to make a difference. And again, the way you experience and just the way that you experience life, the way you perceive, it shifts your perception.
It definitely does. And it's the journey. So it's your journey and your choice. If you feel the nudge, you know how to find us. I think Cindy will put all the information in the show notes. But in the meantime, just know that we're sending you love from afar.
And thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.